I knew something was wrong the moment I saw his face. He wasn't angry, at least not in the usual way. He wasn't shouting or slamming doors like he did when the old truck broke down or when the bills piled up. No, this was different. His expression was calm, almost too calm, and that terrified me more than any explosion ever could. "Why is he here, Melissa?" he asked, his voice low, controlled, like he was holding a storm inside. I followed his gaze across the yard, where my ex-husband, Jason, was laughing with our daughter near the grill, flipping burgers like he belonged there. The afternoon sunlight hit his face just right, that familiar grin spreading as if the last 3 years hadn't happened, as if we weren't divorced, as if he hadn't broken me before. I swallowed hard. "He's here for Emma. She wanted her dad to come. It's her birthday cookout, Ryan." "I just thought." "You just thought," he cut in, setting his beer down so hard the can dented. "You invited your ex-husband to our house. To our cookout. Without asking me." The chatter around us faded, laughter dimming, the sound of sizzling meat suddenly distant. My heart thudded in my chest. "I didn't think it would matter this much," I whispered. He let out a quiet, humorless laugh. "You didn't think it would matter. Melissa, it's your ex. The guy you told me was a mistake you'd never repeat." For months, things between Ryan and me had been steady. He was the first real calm I'd had after years of storm. Steady hands, gentle eyes, someone who didn't raise his voice when I forgot to buy milk or when life got messy. He'd met Emma, bonded with her, and little by little we'd started to feel like a family. But Jason showing up, uninvited from his perspective, unapproved from mine, shattered that illusion in seconds. I tried to explain. "Jason and I are done, Ryan. You know that. I just wanted Emma to have both her parents here for once." "Then why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked slightly. Not with rage, but hurt. Real hurt. Because I'd been afraid. Afraid he'd say no, afraid it would cause a fight. I thought I could manage the situation, keep the peace. "I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable," I said, though even as I spoke, the words felt hollow. He stared at me, eyes narrowing. "You didn't want me uncomfortable, so you lied by omission? You let me walk into this like an idiot." He turned away before I could answer, hands gripping the railing of the deck so tight his knuckles went white. The rest of the afternoon passed like a dream I couldn't wake from. Jason, oblivious to the tension, joked with the neighbors and handed out plates. Emma ran around with sparklers, her laughter like sunlight I couldn't touch anymore. And Ryan, he withdrew completely. He didn't yell, didn't make a scene. He just folded into himself. Every glance from him felt like a blade. When the guests left and the last ember of the grill faded, he finally spoke. "Did you ever stop to think," he said, his back still turned, "how it might feel for me to watch you and him together, laughing, talking like nothing changed?" "Ryan, it wasn't like that. Wasn't it?" He turned, eyes red. "You looked at him like you used to. You probably didn't even notice, did you?" Tears stung my eyes. "You're imagining things." He shook his head. "I wish I was." That night he slept on the couch. The next morning he was gone. At first I told myself he just needed space. Day, maybe 2. But by the 3rd day, his silence had weight. I called, texted, left voicemails, nothing. When he finally answered, his voice was flat, detached. "I'm staying at Mark's for a bit. Need time to think." "Think about what?" I asked, though I already knew. "About whether I can do this," he said softly. "About whether I can trust you." The words hit like a blow. "I didn't cheat, Ryan." "I know," he said. "But it feels like you did." The weeks that followed were a slow unraveling. At work, I went through motions I didn't remember later. At home, silence filled every corner. Even Emma sensed it. "Is Ryan mad at you?" she asked once, her little face creased with worry. "He's just confused," I said. But really, I was the one who was lost. Jason didn't help matters. He started showing up more often, bringing Emma gifts, fixing small things around the house. "You shouldn't be alone," he said once, smiling that old charming smile. Ryan's overreacting. But every time I looked at him, all I could see was the man who'd once broken my trust, and now, without meaning to, I'd done the same to someone else. 2 months later, Ryan came by to pick up a few of his things. He stood in the doorway, eyes scanning the room like it was unfamiliar. The couch where we used to watch movies, the kitchen where we burned pancakes together, suddenly all looked like relics. "Can we talk?" I asked, voice trembling. He hesitated. "I don't know if talking changes anything." "Please," I whispered. We sat at the table, the one we'd built together, every scratch a memory. I told him everything. How I'd felt torn between doing what was right for Emma and keeping peace in our relationship, how I'd panicked, how I'd never meant to hurt him. "I just wanted that day to be normal," I said. "For Emma. For all of us." He nodded slowly. "But it wasn't, was it? Because you didn't trust me enough to tell me." Tears streamed down my cheeks. "I was afraid you'd be angry." "I would have been," he admitted. "But at least I would have known the truth." He stood then, gathering his keys. "Melissa, I loved you. I still do. But love without trust, it's just slow torture." That night, I sat alone in Emma's quiet house after she went to bed, scrolling through old photos. Of us laughing in the kitchen, holding hands at the fair, him carrying her on his shoulders. The memories felt cruel now, like ghosts pressing against the edges of the life I'd ruined. Jason texted around midnight. "You okay?" I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it. For once, I didn't want to escape the pain. I wanted to feel it, to understand it. A few weeks later, I saw Ryan again at the grocery store. He looked better, calmer, a different light in his eyes. He smiled politely, the way you smile at someone you used to know deeply but don't anymore. "Hey," I said softly. "How have you been?" He nodded. "Good. Just moving forward." "I'm glad," I managed to say. "You deserve that." He hesitated, then said, "Melissa, you're a good person. You just made a choice that broke something fragile. And once trust breaks, it never fits back the same." I nodded, tears threatening again. "I know." He gave me a small, sad smile before walking away. That night, I went out to the backyard alone. The grill was still there, rust creeping up the edges. The wind smelled faintly of charcoal and cut grass, just like that day. I could almost hear the laughter again, the one moment before everything fell apart. I picked up one of the leftover skewers, ran my fingers along its charred wood, and whispered into the quiet night. "I'm sorry." Not to Jason, not even to Ryan, but to myself for thinking I could build a new life while still holding pieces of the old one. Because love isn't just about not cheating. It's about honesty in the small things, the decisions you think don't matter, until they do. A year later, Emma turned 10. We had another cookout, smaller this time. Just her friends, my parents, and no ghosts from the past. When she blew out her candles, she looked up at me and said, "Mom, are you happy now?" I smiled, really smiled for the first time in months. "I'm getting there, sweetie." And I meant it. Because sometimes the hardest lessons don't come from betrayal or loss. They come from the quiet realization that love, once broken, doesn't always return. But healing does. Slowly, painfully, beautifully. And maybe that's enough.